Hi, welcome back to Used Bike Reviews, the show where we bring modern two-wheel classics back into the spotlight. If you like high-performance mid-2000s superbikes, then today on the show we have a surprise for you. It's the 2005 CBR 1000RR Repsol Edition. The 2004 saw us a completely redesigned big bore CBR that shared virtually no parts with the previous generation. Styling cues were pulled directly from the factory's RC211V MotoGP bike, and the Repsol-themed bodywork served to commemorate Honda's storied success in MotoGP. You might be wondering what makes this CBR 1000RR Repsol different than the regular CBR 1000RR. Well, the truth is, the Repsol's just a fast paint job. But if you're really wanting a Repsol Edition Honda, there are three things to watch out for to know you're actually getting one. The first one is the orange painted wheels. The second thing is the Repsol bodywork. Is it actually made by Honda? And the third thing is the VIN number. Honda only made 1,550 of these in 2005, so the last four digits of the VIN number should be below that number. If it isn't, you're not getting a real Repsol. The CBR 1000RR, or Fireblade as it's called in other markets, is a potent machine no matter the color of its bodywork. Underneath the skin lies an engine and chassis that were not only advanced for their time, but still hold respect of riders today. With this being a sport bike, you know that weight savings is the name of the game. But with this being a Honda, you know that build quality hasn't been sacrificed to obtain these objectives. For example, take a look at the clutch assembly. It's a hydraulic operated unit that provides smooth action and reaffirming feedback. Other bikes in this category use a cable operated clutch. Not only does it look a little cheap, but you know that quality has suffered a little bit from the objective of saving weight. That same build quality can be observed throughout the front suspension. The anodized paint on all the metal parts is second to none. A quick look at the bottom of the fork legs, suspension adjusters, and the brake discs and calipers shows that this bike was not only made to look stunning in the showroom, but also look great more than 10 years down the road. If you're a real stickler for cosmetic imperfections, then I have some bad news. It's really easy to make these bikes look like they've never been wrecked before. It's important to watch out for replacement eBay fairings on these bikes, more so than any other manufacturer of bike. Why is that? Mainly because of the gas tank. You see this? This isn't actually the gas tank. This is actually a plastic fairing covering what is the gas tank underneath. Most other bikes actually have a painted metal gas tank right here. If you drop this bike and completely trash it, all you have to do is order another $500 eBay set of fairings and it'll look like new. Of course, the bike can be perfectly mechanically fine after replacing the fairings, but it's just something to watch out for. Cosmetics aside, these bikes are mechanically strong with no real shortcomings to point out. The 998cc engine feels like it still harnesses all 172 crankshaft horsepower, even with 20,000 miles on the clock. With its dual-stage fuel injection system, taking this unit all the way up to the 12,000 RPM redline is sure to put a grin on your face. Alright, let's get on this thing. As far as street bikes go, this is one of the most complete feeling super bikes out there. Throttle response is awesome. Just all the controls are really tight. It's just really easy to ride slowly. It's just so smooth. So easy to modulate the clutch. I think it has to do with that hydraulic clutch situation it's got going on. The brakes are tight. You see, I barely have to even touch the brake lever for it to be like, whoa, we're stopping. Low speed turns are so easy to navigate. The way you sit on this bike gives you a lot of control. It's like a perfect distribution front to rear. You got plenty of power, pretty much any RPM you're sitting at. You know, one thing that I probably don't like as much of this bike is the shifting. While it's fine, I mean, you don't miss shifts, the throws are a little bit longer than I'd like to have. First and second is very clunky. I think that's pretty typical of Hondas in general, but I mean, you almost feel like you're hurting the transmission. And I feel like I'm a pretty smooth rider, but even so, you get that really hard clunk going into second. So I just try to keep the engine RPMs as low as possible so it doesn't wear on it too badly. You know, once you get past third gear, it's not too bad, but you know, the throws are still pretty long. It makes you feel like you're almost missing a shift if you're not really affirmative with your shifts. This bike does get pretty warm with that underseat exhaust mounting position, and you know, the way the fairings are, they're really great for moving air while you're at speed, but when you're sitting here, that heat just gets trapped in there. I mean, it's that Honda design. They really over-engineer the fairings so you get good airflow when moving, but it's that same design on the inside of the fairings that really traps heat when you're sitting still, so you're really relying on that cooling fan to keep everything cool. There's not much you can do for your body though. I mean, you're gonna be sweating. It just feels like a really poised bike. I mean, when you're sitting behind this windshield here, the bike feels really wide, which I love. I love the feeling of a real sport bike. I don't want some thin little scalpel that really doesn't make any sense on the street. You get on this bike, it actually feels great on the road. You got some width, some street presence with this bike. As far as controls go, it's pretty much like every other sport bike out on the road. You know, this was before you had engine mapping modes, before ABS, before all your traction control systems. So I mean, it's pretty basic as far as controls go. But everything it does have works very well. If you're used to riding sport bikes, you know that the mirrors typically fitted these things are worthless. But this one's not too bad. You know, you push your elbow in a little bit and you can actually see behind you. I don't know if you can tell, but Honda makes a pretty good side stand. You can tell that the bike isn't leaned over that far, and that's awesome. Which means you can park any way into a hill and not feel like you're about to scratch up the side of the bike because it falls over when you leave it for 5 minutes. As you can see, Honda is one of the best manufacturers when it comes to making a compact motorcycle. Everything fits together very well. The fit and finish of everything is perfect. You know, there's no strange gaps. And we're talking plastic bodywork, so it's really pretty hard for a manufacturer to make plastic bodywork that fits together as well as this. I mean, we're talking complex curves. Just check out around here on the tank. I mean, you can see how finely that fits together, and if it's not OEM Honda or if the bike's been down, it's gonna show really badly. Again, the gas tank is not actually metal, it's a plastic fairing, so you know, it doesn't heat up nearly as bad on a sunny day like this. If you leave the bike out for a couple hours out there in the sun, you're not gonna burn yourself when you get back on the bike because the plastic doesn't get nearly as hot. If you do go in there to add an aftermarket exhaust, the tail sections on these things are very complex. You've got heat shielding all up in here. Make sure you do a good job. If you're gonna put an aftermarket exhaust on one of these, you gotta make it still look professional, or else you're gonna get rattles and a lot of heat absorption into the seats. If you want a bike that you know will pull power wheelies in the first 3 gears, well, this is it. Not that I advise doing that kind of stuff unless you're on a closed course and it's all legal, kosher and everything. But this bike, let me tell you, it don't have any problems pulling up the front end. If you like clutching it up, it'll do it in the first 4 gears without much issue at all. I'm not even gonna talk about top speed, it's fast as hell, this thing. And it's got excellent handling. I mean, this bike just rides very tightly, and that's thanks a lot to this electronic steering dampener that Honda fitted to this bike. This electronic steering dampener is almost what makes this bike. It just tightens up the steering, and of course it gets tighter as you start going faster, and it's just so stable feeling. It looks pretty cool too. It's like you got a little robot sitting on top of your triple tree. But anyway, yeah, it's just one of those little features that actually makes a difference. You know, the riding position is actually comfortable for this era of super bike. You know, you're not standing, doing a handstand riding down the road here.
The weight placed on your wrists isn't as bad as the CBR's competitors, although the stiff seat and higher foot pegs can make long distance trips a bit painful. The 4.8 gallon gas tank coupled with a fuel economy of around 37 miles per gallon means you best start looking for a gas station at 150 miles. The instruments, consisting of an analog tachometer and digital speedometer, are easy to read if not a bit dated looking. Storage compartments are non-existent as the tail section is completely occupied by the exhaust, and tank bag selections are limited due to the gas tank not being magnetic. One drawback of this bike compared to its contemporaries is the lack of a slipper clutch. If you plan on doing track time, you might invest in this upgrade. At 460 pounds fully wet, the bike doesn't ever feel heavy or cumbersome and is really a treat to ride in any environment. Overall, the Big CBR is a wonderful package that simply looks stunning and well proportioned. What's even better is that it can be had for an absolute bargain on the used market. Expect to pay around $3,500 for a rough and running bike, all the way up to $6,000 for a showroom example. If you're searching for a bike that will never go out of style, has all the power you'll ever need, and won't break the bank, then you needn't look any further. The CBR 1000RR is the performance machine you can live with.